down to that. My emergency trapdoor was 18,000. We hit 18,000 and bounced. Now the stimulus came out. People are starting to get a clear handle. The markets are feeling a little better that we got this under control and we're not going to go into a depression. So stay tight with your portfolio. 30 million small businesses, 5,000 FDIC insured banks across the entire country, okay? Starting Friday, they open the gates and they're off. 30 million businesses want loans. They want access to $350 billion that the government's sitting in a big pot over there. Number one, you can go to the SBA. Myself personally, just to try it out, I went through the SBA. I got hung up in one of the fields. They wouldn't let me upload something. I called in, sat on the phone for 2 hours. So I had to ultimately get rid of the call because I had other things to do. One of the things you need to know is your bank, for any business, if you're a business customer of your bank, financial institution, credit union, any financial institution that you're already a business customer of, you got to get on the horn with them right away, and you got to tell them, give me the application. And by the way, if you go to the Treasury Department, there's a sample of the application. It'll give you a rundown on all the documents you need. And basically what it comes down to is payroll, 1099s that you can classify as payroll, utilities, rent, interest on mortgages, and critical vendors or critical subcontractors can be added into your calculation. You take your monthly number each month for last year, you add it up, you divide by 12, you times that by 2.5, and that's the amount you're supposed to get from your local bank, and they start taking applications on Friday. So get yourself ready now and get in line. And the best thing you could do is don't fall for all these sponsored ads out there. They're all funding companies who want to lend you money now because then they got you on the hook, and they're charging like 20 and 30 and 40% interest for like 3-month loans. Don't get suckered in. They're not banks. Go to your bank and you'll be safe there. There's no fees to the borrower, and the interest rate on the loan was just lowered today to 0.5%. So it's almost free money. Go get it. Get your business back in action and get yourself feeling good. And now, if you're an employee or you're an employer, you're a small business, you want to know how to treat your employees, how to deal with your employees, there's nobody better I know than Jonathan Bell. He's going on Facebook every day. He's the CEO, president, founder of the Bell Law Group, one of the finest employment workplace attorneys around. And JB joins us right now. How are you, Johnny?
I'm doing all right, John. That was a great segue because that's what I'm getting calls on all the time regarding these small business loans. So I kind of want to further what you're saying. It's just an amazing program that basically anybody with 500 employees or less should really apply. And you do have to go through these financial institutions. The Small Business Association directly, those are for the older loans that are different than the ones now. So you're correct that you do want to go through your financial institution. I have it on my Facebook page. You can take a look at the application. I have some good free advice there on you. But the beauty of these loans, John, the most amazing things is you're right. You get 2.5%, the average of your monthly payroll expense. And then if you use it, John, this is the mind-blowing part. If you use it correctly, meaning that you use that money to pay your payroll, to pay your utilities, to pay your rent, or if you have a mortgage, the mortgage interest, and you show that to the bank after 8 weeks, you could get the entire loan forgiven, and then it's a grant, and you don't even have to include it as your income taxes income. It's totally free money. It's amazing.
JB,
the only thing
JB,
is,
I just want to barge in on you for 1 second here, because I want to clarify something. A lot of people are asking me this. And I'm sure you know this, but when you take in your last year payroll, they want you to take your 2019 payroll. What you can include in that calculation is your rent, your utilities, and your overhead. They're classifying all of that. Let's call that your monthly average gross payroll. Okay, that's even, you know, there's a line in there for other, which I got some guidance on, which includes critical fixed vendors, people that you get a delivery or provide you a service every single month for the last year, and you need them to continue. They're essential to you. You can include that. And by the way, the loans you will not be able to submit a forgiveness application until 1 year, okay? And what they're gonna do is at the end of 1 year, they're gonna look at the percentage of the money you used in these next 8 weeks. And if you spent at least 75% of that money monthly to cover your rent, your overhead, your utilities, et cetera, then the government will forgive you for that portion. So you can use the money for other purposes, but if it's under 75% of the money over the next 8 weeks, then you may not get the whole loan forgiven. Just to add a little detail in there, John, because I'm doing a lot of work with a couple of banks where I'm reading every single piece of paper that comes out.
Yeah, there's a lot of complicated issues here and there. Like, for example, let's say in 2019, you showed that you had 10 employees on your payroll. Then you get the loan and now you only have 5 employees. Well, they're only going to forgive 50%. Or let's say that your payroll was a certain amount and now you reduced it beyond 25%. They're only going to give you a certain amount as a pro rata share as a grant. So the idea is, what I'm telling my clients is, we want the whole thing forgiven. So you got to make sure you have the same number of employees that you had the average of last year. You want to make sure your payroll is the same, maybe minus 25%, but no more than that. And that 25% deduction, by the way, doesn't include people who make over $100,000. So if you do have someone making $200,000, you could still technically cut them to $125,000 and still not lose any money as far as the grant is concerned. But once you are done, you do have to then apply to your bank to get permission for the bank to turn it into a grant. And if that's the case, Department of Treasury pays your loan. Now, the 1 year that you just brought up, that's the first time I'm hearing of it, John. I'm not saying that it's incorrect. I don't know. I haven't seen that, but I see that you're doing a lot of homework as well.
Yeah, what I believe is because you don't even have any interest payments for 6 months. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? They're deferring the interest payments. So from how I understood it is, and I'll just tell you, JB, a couple of companies that I advise, I'm on their board. We have our applications almost ready, and I'm hoping to be one of the first ones, so I could really, be a resource to help other people get through it. But one of the things that it may be smart for some of your clients to think about doing is when they get this money, set up a special account at
Yes.
their bank where they get the loan. They deposit it into that special account.
Yes.
And then their bookkeeping department can flag in, their QuickBooks or whatever they use on the back end that these classified expenses get always paid out of that account. And then after the year, you can just hand it to them and say, here's everything we paid. And from what I understand, if you're at 75% of what you were at, they'll forgive the whole loan.
Yes, yeah, I mean, it's really, everybody has to apply, because what's the risk what's the risk if, let's say, they deem 80% of it a grant? So big deal, the rest of it, 20% is a loan at less than 4%
No,
interest rate, no
JB.
prepayment penalty.
JB, let me just fill you in on this, because during the course of this week, I've been lucky enough to get on a call with the FDIC, a big call with the Federal Deposit Insurance Company, and also with the SBA, giving guidance to banks. And this just in, breaking news, the interest rate is now fixed. Before it was capped no higher than 4%, but you could negotiate. Now it's fixed, just so you know, at 50 basis points. So the money is coming to people at 0.5%.
Wonderful, wonderful. I mean, listen, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, but just for your listeners and watchers out there, viewers out there, know that the whole point of this is to get people off unemployment, okay? So if you furloughed or you let people go, you got to bring them on or bring other people on. And the number one priority is making sure that you pay payroll first and then the rent and utilities afterwards, because that's the whole point. I mean, it is called the Payroll Protection Program. So
yeah, I mean, the idea is, but if in 3 months you should be keeping people employed, but if you're not paying your rent and utilities because you're trying to get the loan forgiven, then you're going to be out of business anyway. So
of course,
but I think
but
small
also,
business.
John, one more thing that you just need to confirm, because I've heard some conflicting
Go
information.
ahead.
But when you're looking when you're submitting what your payroll was, okay? I can tell you without question, once you get the loan, you could definitely pay rent and utilities. But as far as figuring out what that loan amount is or grant amount is, I've heard different people say different things, whether or not you can include the rent in that figure, just to throw it out there, just so you know. So I'm trying to get some
I could
clarification on
right.
that.
I could tell you this. I did a I did a draft loan calculation with a good client of mine, a great company I work with, and their bank today, right? And if you look at the guidance from the Treasury, it mentions in there payroll first, and then rent, utilities, and there's a line for other. We asked them
Terrific.
for a clarification on, we have, this particular company has vendors that they have to use every month to provide certain web services and stuff that they're critical subcontractors. And if you can demonstrate, everyone has to attest to the fact that they're not lying when they say this stuff, and it's
Right.
punishable under perjury. So
Yes.
you got to get some guidance from your direct bank on that. But from what I
Yes.
understand right now, you can include it, and then the bank will determine if you have the documentation to support it. If you do, then you can get a number that keeps your business running, okay? And then I would say afterwards, you're going to haggle out what parts of that are forgivable. But the main thing is to keep
Perfect.
people afloat right now. And what I can tell you is this also, that tomorrow at 2 p.m., there's a call with the Small Business Administration and every financial institution in the country to give them final guidance on underwriting requirements and documents and stuff. So I'm sure this question is being asked across many, many banks right now. And I would say after tomorrow, we'll have an exact science on it. And if you hit the science, from what I understand from one bank that I'm talking to, if you hit the science right, that you got yourself buttoned up with a bow on it, you go to the bank and they give you an approval the same day, and
Yes.
you could get money within a week. So,
Yes.
stay tuned on that front. Johnny,
Yes.
let me ask you this. Now, we're talking a lot about small businesses and how the business owners can keep people employed. What about the people that got furloughed 3 weeks ago? What about people that got furloughed in January because their company, everybody thought was maybe overreactive? There's a lot of questions around this extra $600. Is it true that whatever you were getting on unemployment, you're now getting another $600?
That is true. You're getting another $600 for 4 months. I think up until the end of July. And so it'll eventually run out. So, I mean, the crazy thing, John, is think about it. Let's say I'm in business and I have two employees. One of them I think is great and one of them is not so good. And they don't make a lot of money, let's assume, these two employees. I keep the one that I like, but then I fire the one that's, average. The guy who's sitting home is actually making more money now than the guy that's working. So it's actually causing a little bit of headache for some employers. But I've been telling my employer friends, listen, talk to the employer you're keeping, saying, yeah, he might be making a little bit more to sit home, but you're the one with job security, and you're the one, when this thing runs out, everyone else is be looking for a job, and you have a job. So it's really interesting that they didn't cap it at least 100% of what people make. You can make more money sitting at home now, depending upon what your salary is.
Yeah, but JB, let me ask you this. Doesn't it make sense, too? Because if the small business goes in and gets some money, right, this might be an opportunity for some people that are really good employees, because if you got one guy you love and one guy who's not so productive, and you furloughed a not so productive guy, right, technically, don't you have more money in your pocket to maybe give this guy a raise, too, because he's working harder and he's staying loyal to you?
Listen, if you can, I know some companies who are giving people raises for those that they're keeping, but that's assuming the company's viable. There's a lot of companies out there, John, they're barely holding on. And I just wanted to go back to one of the other points that you made, which was a great point. I'm giving out a lot of free advice, day and night, spending time on the phone helping people out. There are some lawyers out there, consultants out there. They're charging $5,000 to help you get this small business loan. You don't need it. It's a scam. Stay away. Unless your business is super complicated and you have some other reason, most of us who have 500 employees or less could figure this out with your bank, yourself, and your accountant. So just beware of the scams.
Yeah, and I want to just give you a little anecdotal story here. Um, a friend of mine, okay, who has a company with a decent amount of employees, but under 500. Okay, he uses this smaller mid-tier payroll processing company, right? And he gets an email from the attorney for the payroll processing company saying, "Hey, we've prepared all your documents. We think you're eligible for this much of a loan. We're going to handle it for you with the SBA. And, we may incur some minor legal fees and stuff in there, but we're going to make sure you get it done lickety-split." And the guy called me. He says, I thought I can go to my bank. I said, yeah, you can go
Yeah,
to your bank. And you
yeah,
got some, I don't want to say that guy in particular is shady, but it
right.
sounded shady to me that people are trying to make like they're helping people when people can do this, themselves. And you know what? Some banks that I'm talking to, they don't have great online capacity to handle the scalability of this thing.
Mhm.
So banks are allowed to use certified processing agents, but
Mhm.
that certified processing agent charges you nothing, zero,
Right.
zero. So
Yes,
anybody
and
that's
that's
saying
and
you're
that's the
getting
way that
any
it should be.
fees, stay away from them. There's no fees. So, John, now going
Yeah.
back to the regular men and women who watch the show, working people, Trump said instead of unemployment covering 40 to 45% of your pay, he's saying he's bumping it up to 100% of your pay. And do you still qualify for the 600 on top of it?
So that's the confusion. When this was being drafted, they were saying it's going to be 100%, 100%. But really, what they meant by the 100% is the extra $600 a week. So, for example, in most states, unemployment normally is between 40 to 45% of your salary. And the reason they do that is they want to give you some money to survive, but they want to encourage you to go out and get another job. Giving the $600 is basically on top of the 40 to 45%, which is supposed to make you quote unquote whole. Now, obviously, if you make over a certain amount of money, you're not going to be made whole. So, for example, in New York, the most you could get for New York State, it caps you out at $504. I don't care how much money you make. If you make more than a certain amount, you're only getting 504 from New York State. Plus, now the federal government will give you an extra $600. So if you had $1 million salary, you're not making near 100%. You're making 1,104 a week.
Right. So, but hey, look, somebody who can't get back to work, somebody who relies on being in their store or their fish market or their pizzerias are open. Not a
Yeah.
good example, but the local hardware store, etc.
Yes.
$1,104 a week take-home pay is the equivalent of like 100 grand.
Yeah, no, it could be a substantial amount. Like I said, a lot of people will be making more than they've made before, which is great for them, although you do want to motivate people to get off it and go back. And the good thing also, John, just because they see this going on for a while, is every state has a limit as far as how long you could be on unemployment for. So in New York here, it's 26. In most states, it's 26 weeks. The federal government said, no, you have to extend that whatever your requirement is, extended an additional 13 weeks. So in most states now, you get unemployment for 39 weeks as opposed to 26. And listen, as we get closer to that date, if we're still required to stay home, which hopefully we won't, I'm sure they'll make some other provisions to help. The nice thing about what's happening is, yeah, they're still helping, big companies, corporations, but they are definitely helping small businesses. They're definitely helping the average Joe. So, I like it.
So, and JB, let me ask you this. Let me draw upon your infinite wisdoms in these areas. Some people are saying, well, can I just use the period from January to February 15th to calculate my income, or do I have to use 2019? Can I use right before the coronavirus going up to it what I was making, or do I have to go back to all 2019?
So my understanding is if you've been in business from February 15th, 2019, and June 15th, 2019, you have to use the 2019 calendar year with some exceptions. However, if you want to use the January and February, it has to show that you started your business after that time. So, but really, they're going to look back. They really want to look back a full 12 months. So whether or not they're going to include the January and February really depends more upon how new your business is. Or I imagine if you make a showing that there was a big change in January, February, that maybe there was a dramatic change to your payroll.
I guess that question was submitted to me by someone who got a little raise at the end of the year, and they want to use their 2020 numbers instead of your 2019. Johnny, what about, at some point we're going to have to come back from this, and maybe it'll be April 30th, maybe it'll be after. Everybody who gets a loan, hopefully they keep people employed. What do employees need to know to bring people back in? Are there going to be any special testing requirements? Are they allowed to ask people if they were COVID positive? Is that another one of these things where you can't ask the question? What's the comeback strategy?
Well, you don't want to ask anybody had they had COVID-19 because that could be looked at as some discrimination, and maybe you don't want them back because of it. Originally the guidance was
Maybe I don't want them back. Maybe I don't want them back because they had COVID, and until I have some certification that they're better. You usually get mad at me when I say this stuff, but
right. Well, I mean, listen, if you have reason to believe that they were sick, like let's say they disclosed it because they could take advantage of some paid sick leave, or they disclosed it because they wanted to take advantage of some FMLA, then there's nothing wrong with requiring some documentation that they're now clear. Also, interestingly, there was guidance originally saying that employers can't do invasive testing like take someone's temperature, but that changed. And now they allowed employers to take people's temperature if they seemingly don't look well and they're nervous about that situation. So it's amazing. There really is some changes, some very logical changes. But at the end, you don't want to discriminate against someone just because they had COVID-19 if they're fully recovered. You never want to do that. And you got to be careful, especially now that April 1st started and all those new federal laws started with the federal paid sick leave and the extended FMLA. Like people might invoke that, so you might have to pay for whether it be 80 hours of time paid sick leave if somebody has COVID-19 or caring for someone who has COVID-19, or if there's no COVID-19 in the house, but you're stuck at home because your kids are home, then they're also entitled to 2/3 pay up to $200 a day. So employers really have to be aware of all these provisions. There's an exemption for employers over 500. If you're under 50 employees, you could file for some type of hardship. John, there are so many new laws and rules out. And this is my goal, especially for your audience, before lawyers like me start suing for mistakes, contact us and let us walk you through it and make sure you're doing everything right.
So let me ask you this. Another viewer submitted me a question to ask you. Real estate companies that still have commercial buildings that have essential tenants in there, their lobby areas, should they be allowed to test people's temperature coming in the building?
So I'm an employment lawyer. My specialty is a labor and employment situation. So to be honest with you, I don't know the answer to that. I can't imagine that they will do that, or they have a right to do that. But I understand why somebody in that situation would certainly be very fearful. I mean, listen, John, we just heard the president say that if 100,000 to 240,000 people die, that's a good result. And the hotbed is New York City, where we're based out of, right? So I understand why people are fearful. I think this is going to change how people interact far many years after this thing is over and we're allowed to go out and go to our normal jobs and have our normal relationships.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at it as, everyone's saying, all right, well, restaurants are getting taken care of, gig employment workers are getting taken care of. Don't think that they're going to say, let's just say miraculously, the death count was way over exaggerated. By the end of April, we got 25,000 deaths. And the president says, all right, I'm going to start allowing people who were positive and recovered, or people under 60, in certain areas, I'm going to allow them to start coming back to work so we can get the economy going again. What are those people's rights when getting ordered back to work?
Well, so if you have a job and you're ordered to go back to work and you refuse, you could technically be terminated. Okay, there are some provisions if you have over 50 employees and you've been there for a year, you want to ask for FMLA. That's unpaid leave. You have to get a doctor's note saying that you're stressed, anxiety, have some disability. But that's 12 weeks, and after the 12 weeks, you're going to have to go back. Or if you could do a job from home and you're saying you have stress, anxiety, PTSD, you might be able to get some type of reasonable accommodation through the Americans with Disabilities Act.
All right,
Oh,
but
and
what
one more thing,
about
John.
me? What about me? I'm stranded in my house all by myself. Okay, can I possibly call myself up on my home phone and tell myself that I'm sick and I have anxiety and pay myself to stay home?
Your request would be denied because you've been sick for as long as I've known you. You've had anxiety as long as I've known you. So you're always able to do your job. But listen, actually, I got one more point I want to bring up to your viewers. This is very important. Going back to those small business loans, people like me and you, we should apply now because we're able to work. Friends of mine or clients that own tattoo parlors or bars, restaurants, they can't open up now. So they're actually better off continuing to furlough their employees for now because you have up until the end of June to apply for this loan slash grant. And then when you're allowed to open up, because what's how's it going to help you to pay for a staff that can't work? Once you're allowed to open up, then apply, rehire these people, get them off unemployment or hire other people, and then you could actually utilize this grant and loan for your business. Now, the only risk of that is, of course, there's a limited amount of funds. So once those funds run out, there's no guarantee that they're going to replenish those funds.
Yeah,
So it's just
don't
a
think
little
about June.
strategy session.
Yeah, Jonathan's a great lawyer. Okay, I've been working around the banking and finance business for years. Don't wait till June. Call your bank today. You got some friend or somebody, your rep at the bank. Hey, play it humble. I'm trying to get some help here. I saw some documents. I really need your help. How do I apply for the loan? Do it today and get a dialogue going with someone. Get them down on email. Send them an email. Hey, just confirming our call. I got this, this, and this. Do I need anything else? Get a dialogue going with some human that you can document you have made your application because it's, this money is $350 million, and that doesn't mean they're not going to put more there. But you don't want to wait till the next batch gets approved. They got to start fighting it out in Washington again. Get your application in today. From what I'm hearing, in some instances, depending on the loan size in the bank, you could wait up to 3 to 4 weeks for the money, but you can get a commitment pretty quickly, and then you could start to strategize your life from there. So, that's just my advice, John. No wait until June. Get it now.
True.
Get them while they're hot, they used to say.
John, how come when I'm on Skype I can't see you? You could only see me. I like to look at you when I talk to you.
Nico is actually doing a yeoman's job. He's working from home. We're screen mirroring my Skype so that he can answer the calls for me. He's doing it out of the goodness of his heart. And the Skype machine is over there, and JT is not qualified to get my feed into the thing you're looking at. So it's all because of my lack of skills.
I'll watch the video later then.
All right. You still there, JB?
Yeah, I'm here. You hear me?
Yeah, your audio's cutting out right now.
All right, boss. Listen, it was good catching up, and let's talk again very soon. And I love the show. Keep it going.
All right,
a lot of great information. A lot of great information for your listeners, your viewers out there. It's good to have you out there fighting for the average Joe.
Thank you. Same with you, Johnny B. If anything you need, let me know. And you should be advising your clients because you got these scumbag ambulance chases calling people up, telling them that they want to get paid legal fees to help them. And you'll get more goodwill out of people by not ripping them off and helping them. Down the line, you'll get business from them. If you're a smart entrepreneur, which most lawyers aren't, they're great lawyers, but they're not smart entrepreneurs. Trying to get money out of people in the short term when they're down is only ultimately going to leave a bad taste in their mouth at some point.
It's disgusting. It's awful.
Guys like Jonathan Bell are giving out all the information they can for free. Check out belllawgroup.com. Check out his Facebook because he's doing these Facebook Lives every day where he's got a ton of information that you need to know if you're an employer, an employee, a business, a small business. He's got it all for you. Thanks a lot, JB. Really appreciate it.
Awesome, John.
I'll talk to you
Looking
soon.
forward to the next time. Thank you.
All right, buzzing along here. That was Jonathan Bell. He's one of the best. I always like to bust his chops a little bit. And, I know what his answers are going to be a lot of times when I say, can I fire someone if they tested positive for COVID? I know I can't do that. But I like to get a reaction out of my friend Jonathan because he's an attorney. And he and I have, a really fun relationship. And we know how to have a little fun with each other. And I think that's another added dimension that you get when you watch Liquid Lunch, because the guests that are coming on this show are not some Johnny-come-latelys that just happen to be an expert in this, that, or the other thing, and I'm taking them on. These are people that you've been seeing every single day, on and off for the last year, and it's proven to me, even when I talk to my guests right now who've been with us for a long time, like Jennifer Cuevas, like Dr. Stephen Greer, like Erin Elmore, or Tisha Powell, all these people turn out to be what I've been saying about them, that they're people that know where the rubber meets the road. They care about their fellow man. They care about America. And I'm seeing it every day on my show. It makes me feel good. I got to be honest with you. Now, do I feel good? Yes. Do I feel bad? Yes. Does he feel bad? I feel bad. Yeah. Okay. That's my two personalities. I feel bad because of this. For the last month or so, I've been joking around